Hey, we live back at it again with another episode of Reec Live. We have a very special guest in the building, a lady that was roller skating all around our last, we had a big community event down at Palmetto, City of Palmetto, Health Expo. We did a celebrity basketball game, and there was this woman just skating around the gym. The people loved her. She loved the people. You could tell it was a genuine sense of connectivity there in that community. So we had to shake her hand and find out what was going on, and now we know Teresa Smith is in the building. Let's go ahead and hit the hype bell for her because she could be the sensitized of change in that city of Palmetto, meaning that she could become the first woman and the first black mayor to be in that city. So without further ado, let's get to know her. How you doing?
Thank you for this opportunity. I am doing pretty extraordinary. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Let's talk about this because you got an incumbent who's been there since '86.
Yes.
J. Clark Brody.
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer for various reasons, right? But it seems as though he doesn't directly characterize the city.
That would be
There's
correct.
been a lot of change in the city, a lot of growth, a lot of movement, and it seems like maybe he's not the current representation of what the city is about.
I would have to agree with you on that.
Okay. And you saw that yourself, and you wanted to dive into the situation thinking that, hey, I could better represent the people there.
Well, it's a combination of things. I have been on the council for 4 years. I've lived in the city for 20 years. Mm-hmm. When we moved, I am a native of Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta. Shout out to Adamsville.
Adamsville,
Zone 4, absolutely.
There we go.
And we decided to move south for a better quality of life for our family 20 years ago, believing that change would come to the city as it grew. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen the change that we wanted to see. Yes. And in speaking with a lot of the residents, it's not the change that they wanted to see. So maybe about 9 years ago, I started attending council meetings on a regular basis. Okay. And when I first started attending, the council meeting that started at 7:30, if you were 15 minutes late, the building would be shut down as if a meeting never happened. Okay. So that alone to me was a red flag. Just how are things happening so quickly? Mm-hmm. And what I found out is because people weren't directly engaged in what was happening in the city. Mm-hmm. When you've had leadership that's been in place for so long, they're kind of out of touch, and it doesn't bring people into what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I saw that because in a room that seats about 45, 50 people, there might be 6 people in the room consistently. Wow.
And this is at council meetings, and they're talking about things in the city that directly affect the residents.
That directly affect the residents. Mm-hmm. So when people started complaining that we were swelling with warehouses and nothing was growing in the city, a part of my conversation is because you're not there to make sure it's happening.
Right, because people don't realize if city council and the people within the municipal and the city level, they can decide what types of businesses are eligible to open up in your town.
Absolutely.
Right.
And in our situation, it's a little bit different. So I never like to assume that anybody knows, but there are 2 forms of government. Yes. There's a weak mayor system and a strong mayor system. In the weak mayor system, the mayor is basically the mayor in title. In title, yes. And then in a strong mayor, the mayor is a part of the council, gets a vote. However, Palmetto is a little bit different. A lot of small towns have in their charter that the mayor is also the CEO of the city. Right. So as the CEO, the mayor has a lot of unilateral, a lot of power. And what happens is with that power, if it's not in the right hands, then it doesn't benefit everyone. Right. It may benefit a select group. It may benefit no one. Right. But in our situation, we see that it affects not everybody. Right. So a lot of what I would like to see is a city that is inclusive and embracive of everybody and very welcoming to everybody that comes through our city. And I would say to our city and not just through our city anymore. Yeah. Everybody now just kind of goes through Palmetto. There's nothing to stop for, really. Yeah. But we can be a live, work, play community, and we want that in our city.
Right. I understand that. And if you talk about some of the neighboring towns like Union City, those places that were closer, you see the mall shut down, turn into warehouses. You see a lot of hourly work situations put together, but it's not retail hourly. It's more so
warehousing. Lots and lots of warehouses. Palmetto is 12 square miles. We have 14 warehouses.
That's almost 1.2 per mile.
That's insanity.
that's a lot.
And we have 6 more in our comprehensive plan that we can build in our city. Right. We don't want that. We don't need it. I know it's there already, but it's not what the people want. And because people weren't directly engaged, because oftentimes when the meetings are happening, there's a teeny little bit of sign that really might not get your attention, as if it was a big sign to say, hey, this is what we're talking about. So now a lot of what I do is create those conversations so that people know that you are what's important to the city. Yes, we want revenue. Yes, we want all these different things, but you're what makes everything rock and roll. And if you're not engaged, we ain't rocking or rolling.
That's it. Now I see why you got the skates.
Absolutely.
You rolling and rocking all through town trying to let people know what's going on. What point did you get involved directly with the city hall, with being on the council and trying to make some change from that seat?
So again, after about 9 years, I traveled. I had a job where I traveled quite a bit for a lot of years. But when I was in town, I wanted to get to the council meeting because while I didn't grow up in a political family, I do understand how politics affects people on a day-to-day basis. So started going to the council meetings, asking lots and lots and lots of questions, getting zero answers.
Yikes, that's always scary, especially when you're a resident.
Very scary, very scary. So I decided after about 5 years of attending meetings, okay, now it's time to get my feet wet and see what's going to happen. With aspirations of becoming the mayor years ago. From the very beginning.
Okay.
However, with the lack of communication that was happening, the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability that was happening, I felt like I needed to get my feet wet as a council member first. Let me see what I'm going to get into. Understanding that if I'm sitting on this side of the desk, information should be more forthcoming. 4 years in, I know almost the same thing that I knew when I was sitting on the other side. So I knew, and it was a lot of prayer. I had to talk to my husband and make sure that this is something that, he could fully buy into because this is going to take us in a different trajectory.
Yes, it is. I mean, running for a seat with that type of position and power. And then you got somebody that's been there for over 20 years, almost 40 years.
Doesn't want to give up the power.
And doesn't want to get it almost 40 years, and they have tasted that power for a long time.
So let me just say, even still, he's been the mayor for 37 years. He was the police chief prior to that. So
he just retired from police chief in like 2007, something like that.
That's almost 50 years of having your hands directly on a group of people that honestly don't look like you, don't think like you, and you probably don't have their best interest at heart. So again, on the council, I ran, first time ever running for any kind of political office, first time running for anything, basically.
Not even class president.
Not even
just
class
jumping
president.
Out of here.
Not just trusting God and trusting that this was the right time to do this. And we run 3 seats at a time for the council. At the time that I was elected, I got 6 less votes than the incumbent that had been there for 8 years.
Wow.
8 to 12, I think she was 8 or 12 years at that time. So that to me was a sign that people were ready for something
change.
Different. Absolutely.
They wanted to see something that much more represented themselves.
Absolutely. So I have been that voice for the people. There have been many days I have been the only yes vote, and there have been many days I was the only no vote because I didn't come in as a resident of the city. So I don't have the same investment that a lot of people do as far as being beholden to the current administration. If you've lived there and you've only known this person your entire lifetime,
you might sway the vote.
Exactly. And there's a level of respect that goes with having that position for so long. But I respect the position, but I don't respect the position, if that makes sense. I respect the position of the office. You respect the position of the office and its power, and that will keep you fair and just in what you're trying to do. But you also don't respect, it sounds to me, it's outside looking in, don't respect the movement that's going on in the city that could benefit the people but really hasn't. Has not in a meaningful way. Sometimes it does benefit, but again, it
because I know how things can be.
A small little
I know how
demographic.
Things can be skewed. They say, "Hey, we're bringing jobs to the city. We're bringing this type of work to the city." But you have to realize the types of job also determine the types of job and the types of pay for the people.
That's in what's happening. So but you have also an administrator, and I don't say anything disparaging about anyone. I speak facts. But you also have an administrator who has said, I would never bring anything into this city that will take away from my peers, his friends. That has not served everyone. So where the city could grow versus swelling. We've swelled. But we haven't really grown.
That's a difference.
And that is a huge difference. So how do we grow in a sustainable way that doesn't just completely disrupt the ecosystem of what Palmetto is, how we remain a small city that can do big things.
Yes.
As the gateway into Fulton County. We are the gateway into Fulton County on the south side.
That's true.
However, if you look at the map, we're at the bottom of the map. And if you look at any of the statistics, we're at the bottom of the map. We're still at the bottom.
Right.
We don't have to be.
No, you don't. There are more, and especially when you're talking about 12 square miles, there's an abundance of resources that can be pushed into that city.
Yes. And the people want it. You know, when I first got on the council, and you have these dreams that you're going to come in and just make all of these great changes. The people voted for me. I've got all of these ideas.
Right.
I'm a native Atlantan. I'm bringing all of my friends down to the south, and I'm like, bring your business, bring your resources, bring everything. And to have a chief administrator who says, we don't need that in our city. But we do.
Yeah.
When I took office, when COVID hit,
yes,
I was elected in 2019. We took office in 2020. We had one meeting, two meetings. All of a sudden, the whole world is shut down. Right. Palmetto never stopped having meetings in person.
Oh, wow.
We never went online. We still don't have an online presence as a council, as a city hall.
Yeah. So that's a problem, because then you got a lot of people that aren't able to see what's going on. They may have a work schedule that doesn't agree with it. Then you talk about the warehouse jobs. You got third shifters, all that type of stuff. So.
But that's very strategic.
It makes sense.
It's very, very strategic.
It makes sense if you want things to stay the same.
There you go, to keep people out of the room. Because I tell people, if they tell you what's happening, you may get engaged.
Then you know. It might be a problem.
You may decide you want to ask some questions.
Right, show you what's behind the sheet.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. But yeah.
No pun intended, I don't think.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. But again, it has disheartened me in a lot of ways, because again, when the pandemic started, I have lots and lots of friends, and I have a friend that owns a restaurant that also has a nonprofit agency organization, and she said, "Hey, my agency can serve lunch in your city. We can do that." So I went to the mayor and I said, "Hey, I got a program. I want to bring lunch into the city." And his first question was, "Why?"
Because people are hungry.
People are hungry. And he says, well, nobody's hungry because nobody came and told me they're hungry. So that let me know you have a kingmaker mentality now that, if people don't come to me and tell me directly. And I said, well, I still want to bring the program in. Well, people don't want sandwiches for lunch. It's not going to be sandwiches, hot meals. They're prepared. They're prepackaged. Literally, all they have to do is drive up and we will put them in their car. Right. So we got that done, and we did it for 18 months straight.
Wow. And this is right post-pandemic, where we have a nonprofit too, Positive American Youth, and we have a food pantry, and we saw a spike in people that were coming. The demographic dramatically changed.
It didn't look like the people that were coming in the beginning.
No. These are people that are working. Now they got to choose between eating and gas, or they're getting a reduced check because they're not able to come into work.
And the bills are higher because everybody's home all day, every day now.
Exactly. Running up that electric bills. My grandma used to say, running up my power.
The school is not feeding your kids. You're responsible for all of that. You're not going to work, again, making those checks that you may have been accustomed to making. So people were dramatically impacted in ways that, especially in small town America, that people may not even understand, because a lot of people in small town America, and we're an aging community. Yes. We don't have a lot of resources that make people want to come and move to Palmetto. There's no real parks and recreations. There's no restaurants. There's nothing for anyone to do. So I refer to it as a bedroom town. People say, well, what do you mean by that? You come home and you go to bed.
Go to bed. There's
nothing else to do in our city. So to know that now you've got everybody's home. Even though we had a drive-up lunch program, we were taking lunch to people who couldn't get out to get lunch. Senior citizens, there were all of the rules that had been put in place for this lunch program had been dropped because it's COVID. And we know that everybody's being affected. So now we're taking food. And then there's another nonprofit that gives away food in mass quantities on Tuesdays. Well, once I met with them, I put as much food as I could pack into my car. Drive it down to the city, making a live video while I'm driving. Sometimes I got cabbages pushing my head forward. I've got bags of potatoes I'm resting my arm on. But bringing food back to the city and saying, hey, just come get it. You don't need any kind of requirements. Just show up.
If you need it, just show us.
If you need it, just show up. So now looking for ways and places that we can do that on a consistent basis in the city has been challenging, because, again, the current administration doesn't see the value.
It's a disconnect.
It's a disconnect.
Right. Disconnect, and it doesn't seem to want to be connected. Yes. In those ways.
And it's not, sadly, it's not just the chief officer. If you are good about making sure that people that support you are on the council, because a mayor is only as strong as their council.
Right.
And it takes 4 of us. I let people know that it takes 4 people to move anything in our city. So if it's not moving, that means 4 of us couldn't be like-minded enough to say that we want this in our city. And there often is a lot of pushback because my dad owned a restaurant for many, many, many years.
Right.
And while he charged people, he just fed people because people were hungry.
He understood the community.
My mother was an educator, elementary school principal, who my entire life brought children home.
Yes.
I have more brothers and sisters.
Work doesn't stop for those types of people. It doesn't.
Right. So I grew up in that. I don't know how to not serve people.
Right.
From a heart base.
You see a need.
Not from quid pro quo.
Pro, yeah. I don't need to get to get. Yeah.
Not transactional, transformational, because I want you to feel that when I have left you, that feeling that I left you with, I want it to reverberate in your space for as long as it does, like that ripple on the water.
Yes, and then you create your own space for other people to be helped.
Yes.
Right. So you pass along that.
Yes.
So let's just get an idea of a typical day in city council. Something comes up on the board. We've got the mayor/CEO, and you got how many council seats in Palmetto?
6.
6.
Small city with 6 seats.
6 seats.
Insanity.
Right, and you need 4 votes. And you kind of over here on this island. You got 5 other people. Okay.
So the first 2 years, I was on an island by myself.
Okay.
And again, I bring so many ideas, and it can be a little scary
Yeah.
when you're the only one that doesn't agree.
Yes.
Because now you're being, you're the outcast.
Yeah.
You're so different. And the conversations that you hear outside of council meeting, what people are saying, that she's coming here and she's not even from here.
Now you start you hear the words difficult and things of that nature, when it's really, I'm just trying to make a change for the people I represent. That represent the city.
That represent the city. Palmetto is about 66, 67% African-American black folks.
Right.
So when there are things, and if you don't know the black experience, you don't know the black experience.
And it's okay to have different perspectives in representation in different parts, right? But we also have to be open-minded when I hear something that it might be true.
It might be true. And oftentimes it is true. So we're in council meeting. I ask a lot of questions because I have a mentality, make it make sense.
Yeah.
Just make it make sense. If you can make it make sense, I can probably go along with you.
Right.
But what we often get is a lot of word soup. That's what I call it. And then they want you to be full on word soup. And I don't buy into that narrative.
Right.
So for me, before I was on council and after, each question leads to the next question. And when I'm not getting the answers, then I got to dig.
Yeah.
And when I'm digging, I become the troublemaker and I become the radical.
Right.
And I said, almost that's the best endorsement you can give me.
Yeah.
Is that I'm the troublemaker. Because I'm here asking questions for the people that I represent. And we don't have wards or zones. We are all at large.
Yes.
So we represent everybody in the city.
Right.
So my questions, again, while they may be uncomfortable,
they need to be asked.
They need to be asked. So for a while, I was the Miss Smith show. That's what I was accused of being. You just want to be the Miss Smith show. You just like to hear yourself talk. No, I'm asking the questions of the people that have the questions.
Right.
Well, they're not here to ask their own questions, so kind of we don't believe you. But the people had become so disenfranchised that when I come to the meeting, I might get fussed at, I might get chewed out.
They think it's going to be more of the regular, more of the same. First of all, if I get there at 7:16 because I got off work late, I can't come in.
Can't come in.
Right. Second of all, everybody I'm looking at doesn't look like me, and they just going to vote the way they want to anyway.
Well, again, I don't want to speculate what incentivizes people. I'm incentivized by you doing well.
Right.
Because I grew up with a rising tide raises all ships. If you do well,
I do
somewhere
well.
along the line, I'm going to do well.
Right, and vice versa.
So that's my whole message, and my motto is, I want us all to do well. Palmetto is just ripe for all of the right things to happen in our city. Again, representing not just the people of Palmetto,
yes,
but Fulton County.
And it's a beautiful city. Just outside looking in, and we've done a few events there, and I see it's got a lot of I guess a high ceiling.
Yes.
Things that can happen.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
With the right leadership and with the backing of the people. If the people have disengaged, and they've been disengaged for a very long time.
Yes.
Because they fully understand no matter what we say, you're going to give me what you want to give me. And
that's disheartening feeling, especially for residents, like you said, that have been there for a while.
It's disheartening for them. It's disheartening for me as a servant leader and I tell people there's a difference between sitting on the council and serving on the council. So to serve with people that sit and openly say, well, they elected us to give them what we believe they should have. No, it doesn't quite work like that. No. Well, it does here in Palmetto. And they let me know that very early on, that we give them what we believe is best, whether it serves everybody or nobody. We give them what we believe is best, and I don't subscribe to that mindset.
Right.
And I will continually push back every single time that is the narrative.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in that narrative. I believe in synergy. And I teach people, even in my coaching business, I teach people synergy is your idea plus my idea makes 3. I tell them 1 + 1 is 3. And people are like, no, conventional math says 1 and 1 is 2.
Right.
But your idea plus my idea creates a whole different idea.
Yeah, that's true.
Now that's a third. So that's your 1 + 1 is 3. How do we use what we do from here,
right,
mix with what you want to see, mash it all up, marry it together, and create a baby that makes everybody happy?
Right.
So, and it's doable.
And it should take the best parts of both of us. It should take the best parts of your idea, best parts of strengths of mine,
Yes.
and then create something brand new.
Yes. That's what we're looking to do moving forward.
That makes so much sense. I hope you guys are listening. Miss Teresa Thomas-Smith,
yes,
running for mayor, could be the first African-American as well as female mayor, and the first different mayor in 37 years.
Yes. Well, there was a 4-year break where he lost an election and came right back.
Yeah.
And not sure of all of the whys and hows, but that happened.
Yeah.
So 37 years since 1986, serving 33 years.
Yes.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And then, like you said, he was the deputy for a very long time.
Well, he was a Fulton County Marshal, and he was the police chief of the city. So everybody has known him. Most of the people that are still there have known him their entire lives, or they've known him a lifetime.
He's got very good name recognition in that city.
Name recognition,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you could reach out right now and just tell the people of Palmetto one thing, what would it be? Before they go on there next Tuesday on the 7th and cast their ballot, what should they know?
They should know that change is happening, whether they want it to happen or not. Change is happening. This is not just a history-making election. This is a history-breaking election as well, because we are breaking some things that have been happening in the city for a very long time. I do not know what the other candidate's real platform is, but I know mine is a change, and a change for the people. I am a heart-based leader. I am a leadership development coach that goes into businesses to teach your leaders that your degrees and your titles don't make you a good leader. They don't make people want to follow you. They may make people, respect is not always the word, but people will go along to get along because you're the leader. And it's time for a leader that really believes in the people and has a desire to see the people live and thrive, not just survive.
And we'll do the research to make sure you're doing the right thing. So you're checking, balancing yourself.
I have a husband that will check and balance me if nobody else will.
We always got to have somebody in our corner that has our best interests at hand. It might not be what we want to hear, but it is what we need to do.
Yes, and having leadership that is open and receptive to different perspectives, because, oftentimes the leader, again, because I'm the leader, I know everything. This is mine. I do it this way. But there has to be someone who can pull your coattail and say, hey, friend, maybe this isn't working the way you thought it would. But a lot of times leaders will get on their course and they're so, on my course, I'm not going to do anything different.
Right.
But being able to listen to the people that are directly affected by the decisions that are being made on their behalf. Yeah. That's a huge undertaking and a huge responsibility to be over people.
Yeah. Which you are now luckily in a situation where the state is seeing a lot of change.
Yes.
So like even here in Austell, where we're broadcasting from right now, Media Campus, we have our first black mayor who is up for re-election right now, and that was he's the first the different mayor, change of mayor in over 30 years. You've got the first Cobb County sheriff being elected. He's a black man. Then you got Tim Pounds over in Douglasville who ushered in change. You have, and I'm not making this a race thing. I'm just making this more of a representation thing. You have Forsyth County, which was a few years back voted, and this borders Fulton County as well, one of the most racist counties in America. Yes. It was actually voted the most racist county in America, and they had a whitewashing that stemmed from Prohibition days. And now you have a change where the demographic in that city has changed, as well as the leadership is starting to change as well. So you're kind of right on the line of ushering in this new voice of representation.
And I think that sometimes what keeps people from running for office, they may be fully equipped, fully knowledgeable, have everything they need to be the leader, but because I haven't had a leader that looked like me, or that leader, just what happened in Austell, what happened in right now that has been happening in Jonesboro, different cities where we finally get representation, but those that oppose it will do everything to derail what that person is fully capable of doing and there to do with good heart. Not, I don't know. I don't know any leader that's running just to be able to say I'm the first. They're running because they fully believe I'm the one who is ready to do this thing. Do this thing,
do it right, make some changes in a positive direction.
Yes.
And I'm going to go out here and do the best I can to represent the people the best way. Not just people that look like me, the people of the community.
The people. And when that happens, that can be scary, and people who are ready can decide, maybe I'm not ready because I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
You know, people will try to dig up all kinds of crazy stuff. People will tell lies. People will make up stories or whatever they do that they need to do to win. Now, sometimes that shows me your character.
Right. Because if your stance isn't good enough to win, then what are you really saying? If I have to say something about you in order for me to win, what is that really saying? This is actually one of the sayings in a very good book, The Alchemist. He says that if I have to do something negative for you, for me to win, I can never prosper.
Exactly.
Right.
But so many people don't see that because in politics especially, you know, we see how ugly it is for somebody who just wants to win. I just want to win at any cost.
Any cost, yeah.
And we live in a society that tells you, or almost in a sense glorifies it, you know, makes it okay.
They like to miss.
Yeah. Where is that really okay? Why is that really okay? And why have we're so desensitized to it that we've normalized it.
Yeah, we're easily entertained by BS sometimes when we should really be looking at the things that matter, and the things that matter should be someone's platform, especially in these positions.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And I stand on what I say. I don't say what I can't say. I don't say about you what I can't say to you. Because I believe that when it comes out of my mouth, it is added value.
Right.
That is what I show up for. It's for added value, not just to the experience of what we're doing, but to the human experience, period. We're all here just trying to figure out how to navigate this human experience.
Makes sense.
From where we are, from where we've come from, because I have had 4 siblings. We all grew up in the same house, but we all had a different experience in that same house.
Right.
So how do I take what my experience is and mesh it with your experience, because I can't negate your experience because it wasn't mine.
Right, that's true.
And I think oftentimes that's what happens with leaders. You know, I've been doing this and it happened this way for me without recognizing that
how it affected someone else.
How it affects somebody else.
And that's what representation matters. So that's why you have to have different voices able to hear each other and make a collective decision. Right.
And appreciate what each person brings to the mix. Because you can't bake a cake without eggs and flour and butter and sugar. You can't.
Right.
So how can I be mad that the eggs are in the recipe because I feel like the butter is the most important thing.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's how people get twisted in these different roles that they get in, thinking that their role is so much more important. But regardless of how much flour and sugar you need, if you don't have butter, your cake ain't gonna be good.
Right. So every piece counts.
Every piece counts.
And everybody's not gonna be happy, but at least we're moving forward.
And that's sometimes scary for people, especially when you've been steeped. And I use that word a lot, and I use that word intentionally, because when you're steeping, I'm a tea drinker. I don't drink coffee, I drink tea.
Gotcha.
The longer a tea bag sits in that hot water, the stronger it gets. Now, where you may want strong tea, sometimes it sits long enough that the tea is no longer good. It's bitter.
Right, it's bitter, right.
Yeah, it gets nasty. So when things have been steeped for so long, you have got to, the way I look at it is you've got to pour in enough of something else to kind of dilute it down some. So now we've been kind of diluting. This last 4 years was part of my dilution.
Right.
Now I'm ready to come in and really show people what you can have, what we can have with the right leadership. Leadership matters.
Yeah, it is. Time to brew some new tea.
Time to brew some new tea.
I like it.
Good, sweet, flavorful tea, too. It's got to be Southern sweet now. Not sweetened, sweet tea.
Hopefully, well, we're talking right now with maybe Mayor-to-be, Teresa Thomas-Smith. We appreciate you coming by. Thank you.
Thank you for having
sharing
me.
that. I think the people will enjoy hearing this message, and hopefully it'll give them another perspective as they jump into those booths.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to wrap by saying, no matter where you live, local politics matter.
Yes.
They touch every aspect of your being where you live. If it's not in Palmetto, learn who the candidates are where you live. Don't just vote for people because of a name recognition. Learn who the candidates are and vote for the people that you feel best serve what you desire to see as a citizen of the city where you live.
What they stand for and what they stand on.
Yes.
This is another episode of Reec Show Live. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay tuned for the music on the radio side, on the interview side. Run this back as many times as you feel necessary. We gone.
It's time to see who's with Reec.
Hey, whoa, yeah. Who you with? Wendy Williams is in here.